Good night to all our listeners. It's evening or night? Good evening to our listeners and viewers. And we welcome you to this Thursday night special. It's going to be an interesting program. We are here with some wonderful guests from the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. They are represented here by Mrs. Kizie Matthew-Clarence. We are accustomed to her face on this program. She is the head of the Psychosocial unit in that ministry. And next to her is Mrs. Nakitha Noel, and she's representing the early childhood unit in that ministry. And next to me is Kisone Ferguson. I want you to see him. He is here representing the desk of the elderly. And as you know, this month is a very special month for that ministry. You've heard of Child's Month, which started, I think, sometime in the 80s. My aunt was telling me about this, Esther Fletcher. And there's something special happening in this month for them. And also, we focus on the elderly. So there is a marriage between the young and the old. And this is beautiful. And with them is the head of the Psychosocial unit. And you're wondering, how is all of that going to play out tonight? Well, we will see, because we're going to see that there is an interrelationship in that ministry. And so there is a wonderful cooperation that exists there. So we will be talking Child Month. We'll be talking this month of the elderly. And we have the mental health also month, and we heard a lot on mental health, and we'll have the capable persons to share with us on these various aspects and how we are affected by it, and to be able to heighten awareness and to cause us to be able to see that there is a dimension in our lives and in the lives of our children and in the nation that we ought to be able to be part of and to make our contribution. So I want to welcome you on behalf of Good News Catholic Communications, and to welcome all who are joining us online wherever you are getting our signals on the various platforms. I'm Ruthina Victor, and I'll be your host for tonight. And we will start off with the head of the Psychosocial unit, that Mrs. Kizie Matthew-Clarence, just to share with us on the activities and what is the significance of this month for your department.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
So from the ministry standpoint, the Ministry of Social Development, October is a very busy month for the ministry. And we started off with celebrating International Day of Older Adults, which was on the 1st of October. And as a ministry, we recognize the importance of our older adults, persons 60 and over, in our communities, in our families, and the significant role that they play. So from the 1st of October, then we moved on to the 10th of October, which was World Mental Health Day, celebrated all around the world.
Yes.
And as a ministry, we continue to observe October as World Mental Health Month. And of course, we are aware also that the month of October is Child's Month. So it's a beautiful synergy at the ministry as we collaborate to ensure that, one, persons are aware of the importance of the older adults in our community or children, And of course, with all of these different facets, the importance of mental health for all of the different populations in Grenada.
Thank you very much for outlining. And so we're going to have the various representatives who will share on the various units. And the pendulum swings to Nakitha, Noel, and you are a social worker and coordinator for and early childhood education is extremely crucial.
Extremely
and what
crucial.
a responsibility you have to coordinate this. But I'd like you to give our listeners and viewers an idea of that unit, your responsibility, and how important it is, for the functioning of, the various stages.
So I'm responsible for the early childhood unit. It is a huge responsibility, a huge undertaking, but I am privileged to run the unit, and it's an honor to do so, to see the nation's children grow up and be fruitful adults. The unit, we're responsible for daycare.
The daycare?
Yes, daycares from children from 0 to 3 years. So that includes the private daycares and the government centers, and also home care centers. So it's quite a lot of daycares and home cares. Yeah, we have approximately 12 government centers and over 50 private centers, and just approximately 7 home care centers in Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique.
Okay.
Yes. And the unit is responsible for providing that oversight to ensure that they keep the standard, the national Grenada standard for early childhood, to ensure that they implement the curriculum in the correct manner, and just ensure that our children are safe. Yeah. So we have that great task ahead of us, and I think we are doing a great job so far.
Okay. So you have some workers with you, and
Yes.
those who collaborate for the success of that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Now, I think it's important to share with us a bit on the importance of this 0 to 3, the daycares, because in my time, it was the Ministry of Education,
Right.
that everything was just lumped in the Ministry of Education. But it seems as though there is an understanding that it needed to be pulled out and to be dealt with because of its nature. The sensitivity of it and the impact
Yes.
on the child between that age of 0 to 5, we say. So share with us a bit on that
All right.
aspect.
So 0 to 3 is one of the most critical age or stage of any child. That's when we have the rapid brain development. And in order for a child to develop properly, there must be early stimulation, and proper early stimulation. We're talking about the cognitive development of that child at that stage. We're talking about the social and emotional, where you have trust and mistrust. We're also talking about language and speech, how they communicate with one another. So it's crucial that we get that component down in order for persons to really thrive in the future. So we encourage the daycare centers to try their best as much as possible to pull out the tools that is needed in order for our children to be functioning children.
We have some questions to follow, but give us a broad base,
Yes, a broad,
as to how important it is. We're going to move to Kisone. And Kisone, a young man like you, working on the desk of what you call older adults. How is that impacting on you? I want to ask that from the beginning because, we think that young and old cannot, live together. And, it's beautiful to know that there's a young man, at that desk. I imagine that something is happening to you as you serve in that capacity. Share briefly your experience and what does that desk call you to do?
Okay, Tina, first, I need to say thank you for having us on the program and good night to your listening audience. As you went on the question, and it really brought a brief reflection for me, it's not just about working, but it's about being of service to others. And it also helps to see some of the challenges that our elderlies are faced with. And I think that is why in 1990, the UN General Assembly decided that, with a resolution that there should be a day and a month set aside to recognize older people and not just recognize them, but also to recognize their struggles, but also recognize that they are an important facet of society because of the experience they have gained. So yes, it has imparted on me some life lessons, that some negative, some positive, but at the end of the day, it will help prepare me. If I live to see, if God grant me that those years, some older years.
Now I hear you using various terms, when you speak of the elderly, because that's how we know it. When does that age begin, really?
Okay, so first of all, let's see that every day that we live a day older. Yes. However, because when you get to a certain age, so for example, for us in the unit and recognized internationally, our older age starts at 60. An older person is categorized from 60
so
onwards.
Senior citizens.
Yes. And it is important because at that time or as the psychologists may say, at that time when you reach that age, you start to decline more in life. You are no longer working. You may be living alone, children moved out, spouse, God forbid, may have passed on. Yes, so it is important in that aspect to recognize them and to recognize the vulnerabilities that our older people may experience and are open to.
Okay. So we're going to come back to this because there are some questions that we have to look at in terms of we can talk these things, but practically what your ministry is engaged in doing in terms of the services that are available, how can they be accessed, and how do you judge, where the need is and how you respond to those needs. So you could think of this for the moment, but we're gonna come back to you. But I want to bring in Kizie here as the head of the psychosocial unit. You've heard both units speak, that's the early childhood and the elderly. Where does your exact speciality fit into this?
Yes. So when it comes to mental health, I like to refer to mental health as a womb to tomb, because when we're talking mental health is important from the moment a child is conceived, or even prior to that. And if we're looking at our older adults, mental health is important right to the very point that person dies, because we're talking something that's all-encompassing, and all of us, we do have our brains. Even if we grow older, our brains are still active. And that is why even for children, it's important that parents are in good mental health, that they themselves are able to meet the socio-emotional needs of the child. If a parent is anxious or a parent is stressed and not coping well, of course, that's going to affect their ability to parent. And you will find that it may not be emotionally available for that child. And that child, too, might be stressed or might even suffer from anxiety, right? So we want to ensure that when we're talking mental health, that everyone is on board. That is not a they and them, but all of us. When we're talking about mental health for older adults, and Mr. Ferguson talked about the challenges that our older adults face, and as they grow older, we're talking retirement, we're talking limited finances, we're talking sometimes chronic illnesses if they're not aging well. He spoke about death of a spouse, and how do they navigate all of those stressors and all of those life changes. And mental health for older adults is so very crucial, because at that age they're prone to depression, they're also prone to anxiety. We're talking about all of these life changes that they're navigating. Now we have the issue of dementia and Alzheimer's and how it affects them individually. So it's so important that we have a collaborative approach, and that is why as a ministry we're able to recognize that mental health is all-encompassing, that we're able to recognize that it overlaps with every department.
No, it's good that you said that, because I'm saying that we're talking about the children, we're talking about the older, the older adults, and we have the parents who Some of them are pretty young, and grandparents too, pretty young. So you talk about the child, but the child is 0 to 3,
0 to 3.
really under the mother's care,
Yes.
mother and the father's care. And so when we talk about mental health, we have to consider not only the child,
No, everyone.
we have to consider the home, you know, and the situations that exist in the home. So how do we help really in that case where the children are coming from a home? You are like the second point, you know, in the daycare. So we have to see what's happening at home. How do you navigate that situation, especially with the for the early childhood? What do you do to sort of help the parents to be the best they can for the children, even if they're under stress and so on? Managing that, the child will benefit if they are able to manage. So,
All right, so one of the things that we do, and of course we have the psychosocial unit, we have their support, but we also have the parenting unit who also comes into the daycare center.
okay.
And of course we have parenting courses to with the parents to ensure that they get the help that they need. Because we know it's stressful, it's babies. And we talk about the younger ones from 0 to 3, and we know it's not easy to handle, and that's a very crucial age. But of course, so in order for our children to thrive properly, we need the parents to be, of course, in good mental health. And not only the parents, we have the caregivers also. Yeah, so the children spend most of the day with the caregivers.
In the daycare
In the
center?
daycare centers, yeah. So we can live out the caregivers who are taking care of the children every
the
day.
parents in the daytime.
And so most of them are parents and caregivers. So even if their duty stops in the daycare center, when they go home, they are parents. And it is stressful. So we are grateful to have the parenting unit who comes in and do sessions with the parents and do sessions with the caregivers. And of course, time to time, we can do our referrals. If we find that, you know, somebody's really struggling, we can tap into psychosocial unit to provide that one-on-one support for the parents or caregivers.
Does that word intimidate people? Psycho, mental health. Do you get this sort of repulsion from the use of that if you think somebody needs that help? Or do you use other terms, you know, that the person can welcome without,
Yeah,
you know, the
what I can
caution there?
say is that when it comes to mental health in Grenada, we have come a very long way. That while there is still the stigma and discrimination that we still have to work through, but we've recognized that persons are very much more open to counseling. And sometimes we would use counseling, right? Psychosocial support simply means that we're providing support, not just psychological support, but there might be other social needs that a person may have that we also might need addressing. So while sometimes, you know, people might be a little standoff, but the majority of times people welcome that. People welcome the opportunity to talk. Hey, you know, there are counselors in the ministry. How can we contact you? Because sad to say, there are a number of people in our society who are hurting, who need healing, who need someone to talk to, who need someone to reach out to, who need some help to navigate whatever stressors that there is. So people do welcome the fact that there is help available to us.
It's good. As you said, we've come a long way.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it's still a work in progress.
And still a
yes?
work in progress.
Let's shift to Kisone a bit with the desk of the elderly, because I have some interest in that place.
I guess
I wonder
we all
why.
should.
I wonder why.
We're all getting there,
Yes,
right?
I am there. But I have other people that I speak with. And in terms of what services really does that unit offer? And is it known? You know, how is it known to those who need it most?
Okay. Well, Tina, as we also do media sensitization whenever there is an opportunity, right? But we do have various services that we offer, and yes, I would say it is known by most because we do get calls upon requests, also calls on reports. So we offer a number of various services, right? So we would also respond to if persons would make probably a complaint about they suspect a person may be abused. If they suspect a person may also need social assistance, because we do have what we call our social safety nets programs that we also offer also.
Like what? Like a social...
Yes, so...
What you offer in that here?
Sure. So we have the SEED program, which we would first do our first a preliminary assessment.
Okay.
And then a referral to the SEED unit. So this is another unit also. Who would then do an in-depth assessment of the client.
Okay.
To then determine how best we can assist them. Right. We also an elderly who may need water connection. We would assist with that also. An elderly who would request geriatric assistance care. We also assist with that also. We also, I must say, also kudos to grandkids, because we also partner with grandkids.
Yes.
And also plus there is in a few parishes where the ministry also have caregivers because of the need, where we see that need, that there is an extra hand needed. So we also have that. And we also have other programs. So if, for example, whenever we have Pampers available, we would assist. Whenever we have wheelchairs, if a request is made, if once we have it on hand, we will assist through what we call an equipment loan procedure, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it comes back in so that another person can benefit from it.
But at that age, someone asked people who have served so well their country and have found themselves in a situation where they just cannot afford the care that they really need in terms of paying a caregiver. Would you consider somebody like that, and if they have to access the financial or whatever help they need, how can they access that help? Because some people have this tendency, oh, she has money, oh, this is what. They assess your situation from outside and not give you the opportunity to speak for yourself. What is your present situation and circumstance that you speak to?
Right. So that is why we do the assessment. We would go in, the request is made, we go in, we do an assessment. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it is not just what we see, but also it gives us an opportunity to experience what a person is feeling. It gives us what you call the qualitative experience, to experience that. Now, we would employ a number of measures. So, for example, that elderly and they do not have the finances per se, we would see if they qualified for what we call the grocery assistance, right? Which is the first step. It is a one-time step. And then we move on to other levels. So we go on to the SEED. We would go on to see, the
SEED will give them a monthly?
Yes, the SEED, once they qualify for the SEED, it can range from 300 to 500. So it depends on what is the nature of the vulnerability. Situation. Yes. Okay. Also, and something that I must say is that we would also try to engage the family also. Because, there are some families, yes, who really cannot make it, but at the end of the day, as I tell families, there is something you can do. Don't say you cannot do nothing. Because, sometimes it just happens that you just pass by the morning and help them have breakfast. Help them have lunch. So, and then we would also try to see, can they get some geriatric assistance during the day?
But I know they used to have teams going around in the different homes, to help to clean, to cook and do. And with some of the elderly, they're a bit suspicious as to who comes to their home, And you want to be able to manage that and to assure them, because you would train these people who have to go to the homes, of course.
Yes, they are trained. All that's what we have them through grandkids. So grandkids have what we call the roving caregivers.
Okay, so that's grandkids.
Yes, who would go out and they will go from home to home, and then they do have what you call those assigned to a specific person. And I can assure you that they are well trained to handle the situation.
Yes. Thank you for that response. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to speak of Child's Month. So you let us know the theme and how it's going, because it's still the month. We still have a few more days in the month.
Entire month.
And a bit of, from both of you again, as to collaborating for the holistic development, of our citizens. So, listeners and viewers, we were going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to continue with the representatives from the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. We take a short break now. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to our program, our special Thursday nightly program with the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs, in the persons of Mr. Kisone Ferguson, Mrs. Nakitha Noel, and Mrs. Kizie Matthew-Clarence, representing various units in that ministry. We're going to go back to Ms. Nakitha. It's like the pendulum keeps falling on you. Speak to us about Child's Month. As I said, from what I gathered, it is something that originated from another island. My aunt was telling me, and then she thought the idea was a wonderful idea since then, and it was brought to Grenada. I think she said the first time it was held somewhere in November because somebody was visiting and they couldn't have it in October. She knows the history very well. Okay?
Interesting.
But the fact that it has continued, it means that there is something that is being achieved, from doing it for the child, for the parents, and for the community. Speak to us about, I know you have a theme for this year, and how has this celebration been going so far?
All right, so we do have a team for this year. We have collaborated with the Ministry of Education. And we do have a Child Month committee with various stakeholders. So we have food and nutrition, we have, of course, social development, Ministry of Education, we have Child Protection Authority. And we were responsible for coming up with that team. The theme for this year is My Health, My Safety, Our Responsibility. So when we say my health, we're talking about the child's health. Is the child eating properly? What goes into the child, of course. We're talking about the safety of the child from any abuse, neglect, abandonment, even cyberbullying and all those online bullying. And then, of course, all of this comes in together is our responsibility. Not only the parents' responsibility, but the community, the church, everybody's responsibility to raise that child and to ensure that that child is being productive in society. So we have a number of activities throughout Grenada, Carrick-1, PC, Martinique. Every daycare will be doing or is doing something. We range from various presentations from Food and Nutrition Council. So we're looking at health. So we have the Food and Nutrition Council persons coming in and talking to the caregivers on healthy choices. So no more snacks and limited snacks and all of that, and how to prepare healthy meals for the children. We have to pride ourselves with healthy meals, right? And we have, of course, we have the parenting unit come in and speak to the parents and guardians on child abuse, on how to parent, effective parenting, what could be done, how to change your parenting styles, what can we do to ensure that you are using the correct tools for your child. We also have Child Protection Authority doing sessions with the caregivers on the child abuse protocol. How can you report if a child is being abused and all of that. One of the things that we did this year is have a daddy day. And that's where we get the fathers to come into the daycare center and spend time with the children, do something. So we have Daddy Day, and we have, of course, the Parents' Day. So the parents will come in, they would make a mobile with their child, they would read a poem to their child, and to see that level of interaction with their child. And of course, we can't forget the street marches. I think everybody loves it. So they get to dress up in the orange, in the bright orange, because that's the color that we use, and parade throughout the street. Oh, coincidentally, you're wearing your orange. So you're celebrating Child Month with us.
I know children like colors, Of
course.
Even the elderly.
So we get the parents and guardians to come out in the streets with the children, and we have lovely slogans: "Love me, I am special," "Value me," and we have all of that, and we have the community supporting the children. So we have all of that activities happening for Child Month.
How effective you think? How long have you been in that unit?
Approximately, maybe just a little over 2 years.
Oh, just 2 years, yeah. But I'm sure they would have measured in terms of the effectiveness and to make some adjustments, to the way that celebration is done. Now, there's a lot of talk about child abuse and so on, but I'm concerned also about the whole values and, virtues and the type of modeling behaviors that we would like to see in our children.
Yes.
And this is not something that is as easy as this. Because it's like, how do you give what you don't have?
It's true.
And like you be speaking about this, but it's the consciousness that we have to give more to our children so that when they grow, they can make the kind of choices, that
Safe
we will be proud of and they will be proud of.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So, as you said, this time you focus on health, and I was wondering how much success you've achieved in terms of the type of eating habits, because we still see how much is brought into, and we still see the more convenient ways of preparing the snacks and, because the parent is working. It's not like in our time when perhaps the mother is home and can think creatively as to what she can do. Everything is like the quickest because I am tired, I have to go.
It's a lot. It's a lot
but
for persons.
Yes.
And we try to tell parents to find creative ways to use all the fruits we have. We have so much. We have guava, we have pineapple, we have all of that. And they can find inventive, creative ways to just use those fruits that we have, because we see them wasting all the time. We have mango season coming up, and make mango juice. We have all of those things, and then we understand that the snacks are easier. It's cheaper to just buy a snack and give a child, but we have to think in retrospect: is that going to be healthy for my child? What substance is my child getting from the snack that they're eating? So sometimes it's hard, but we have to make the sacrifice as parents to ensure that our children are eating properly to get the correct nutrition that they need to grow their little brains. So the brains can develop properly.
So do you put limits on those things from what you know in the daycare? What is allowed and what is not allowed?
Yes, we do.
You try to manage, what comes into the daycare?
Yes, we do. We allow fruits to come into the daycare, not necessarily snacks. And of course, we have our children drinking water, a lot of water. So we do tell the parents, this is what you're allowed to bring and this is what you cannot bring. And most of the time, they comply, most of the time. But of course, we know some parents, they would try, of course, to bring in the snacks, and we would tell them, this is not a healthy choice for your child. Maybe you can find this, or you can do this instead of bringing the.
So does the
healthy
school
snacks.
itself have a school feeding for those who
Yes, we do have a
cannot
school.
afford?
Yes, we do
Okay,
have.
So
Yes.
I guess in that case, you can control what
Yes,
is being cooked
you
at the
can. Yes,
school.
definitely, definitely.
Nice. Okay, so we shift to the mental health, which is a very crucial part. You know, when we were growing up, I wondered we might find a few people who are a little bit off, but now this is being used so very off. This whole thing of mental health is just becoming like a buzzword, you know.
Yes.
And you wonder how best to manage, because if this child is not formed to deal with situations and challenges, so you just let them do what they want to do and they are not challenged. There's not the father figure to teach them that struggle is important and you
Of
cannot
course.
have what you feel you need right now. So this whole question of mental health, now everything just becomes like, oh, this child is suffering from anxiety and whatever. I mean, all time, you're allowed to give 2 slaps. And now, you're speaking now about, abuse and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a way to do it. So speak to us a bit of this
Yes.
whole aspect
So,
of the
A lot
mental
has
health.
changed over the past couple of years. So the World Health Organization has recognized that worldwide there has been an increase in mental health disorders and mental illness.
Disorders.
And I'm glad you brought up our young people, because the trend also is that our young people are suffering more from anxiety and depression. And the cause of that is multifaceted. We're in a society where young people have less support. We know the impact of technology. We know the impact of lack of family structures and parenting and support structures. We have seen a reduction in spirituality, and we know the importance of spirituality when it comes to health. Because when we're talking health, we're not just talking emotional health. We're talking emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, environmental health. All of that encompasses health. And just the impact that has had on our young people and our society. And even as Mrs. Noel talked about parental stress. And if you look at parental stress now, you know, even myself as a mother, and just having to juggle work and children and family duties and the
Full
stress
job.
that can cause, even for me. And how do we as parents, how do we navigate all of the demands of what's happening in our world? And we're recognizing that more and more persons are not coping well. And that is why we want to raise the awareness that, hey, we need to take care of our mental health. That in the same way that we can talk about diabetes and hypertension and eating healthy, we want to tell people, hey, we need to take steps to ensure that we are healthy mentally.
What would you suggest? What are some of the ways that you've having encountered people? What are some of the suggestions
Right.
you will
So
give?
I would first say that you have to be able to recognize your stressors, right? While stress can be a good thing, chronic stress over a period of time can wreak havoc on our bodies and mentally. So you have to be able to recognize what's stressing you. Why am I feeling that way? I might be feeling down or agitated or maybe a bit anxious.
Get
What
in
is
touch
it?
with that- with
What is
what's
it that's
going on.
happening to me? What are your physical symptoms? So from, you know, even for me, when I'm stressed, I'm not managing well, I get headaches. And those signs and symptoms can be different for other people. And what strategies are you putting in place to manage your stress? You know, what are you ensuring that at the end of the day, how do I de-stress? Or we talk about self-care, not necessarily at the end of the day, but during the day. So we're always going, but how can I take a 5-minute break just to take some deep breaths? How can I ensure that I drink water, I eat healthy? How can I ensure that maybe I can just take a walk around? Yes, have your water. Water is very important for mental health, right? Not just for physical health. Yeah, so we can toast to that. Yes, it's so very important, because when it comes to our physical bodies, our physical health is linked to our mental health, right? Because when it comes to stress, poorly managed stress can be manifested in our bodies. So we have all those somatic symptoms, whether it's a headache, whether it's a tightness in the chest, a heart palpitations, whether it's a tension in the muscles and all of those things. And sometimes people do not recognize that I'm having those physical symptoms because I'm not managing my stress well. So you're going to the doctor, you're doing all those tests, you're taking all this medication, when it's a matter of how are you managing your stress.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, can I sit outside? Can I take a 5-minute break in the veranda? Can I take a walk? Can I, how do I connect? What do we do? Or do we just go? And after some time, we recognize that we're not doing well. So we want to raise awareness so that people are more conscious about their mental health.
Be in touch with
being in touch,
reality,
being self-aware,
yes.
and recognize that, hey, I got to take care of that brain. I got to ensure.
Overthinking, right?
Yes, right? To ensure that it's something that we're all very much aware of.
Thank you so much. Kisone, working with the elderly, I guess it's an experience for you. But you've grown up in a community and you are accustomed with older people and all of that. But you may be seeing some situations or encountering some issues that the elderly have to deal with, either told to you or perhaps you yourself have encountered. What are some of the issues you think that have been highlighted for you, working with the elderly? Because I get the impression that you are not just stuck to sitting at a desk. I get the impression that you do community movements, to check things. So what are some of the issues that you think need to be highlighted and how your unit propose to deal with it?
Well, Rutina, there are a number of various issues, and I want to say that while I may highlight some here, each case is unique to its own. There is no two same abuse cases. There is no two same financial abuse cases. However,
you say abuse?
Yeah. Abuse in terms of the various forms. There's psychological, you even have sexual abuse by family and also friends or strangers, which is happening to our older people. You have neglect, and you have also, which is why mental health is so important, that what was the word I'm looking for? That hurt, that deep scar from, my father, he never mind me, and my father used to physically abuse me, so right now I'm not studying him. And how do we deal with that from a desk perspective? We would offer, one of the things that we can do is refer them to Matthew-Clarence's unit if they so desire. But we also try to bring some healing by, having that discussion with them.
So you have a dialogue.
Yes, dialogue.
Sort of mediation now. So
yes, presently dealing with one right now, which did not require Matthew-Clarence's intervention, but it's slowly coming along. And these are some of just the main issues that we may encounter. We encounter a homeless elderly.
A homeless elderly?
Yes. Yes, homeless. So it's basically living in an abandoned building. How do we deal with that? We have to then find suitable care for them, because some of them may not even be able to care for themselves. So one of the things is that we want to do is education, educate and sensitize, and which is why, at the ministry, I'm sure we are not only reactive, but we are proactive, which is one of the programs that the Desk of the Elderly has right now. It's what you call 0 to 60 real quick.
0 to 60 real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Get there quickly.
It comes quickly.
And that comes out from having the whole, because of the situations that we meet, we realize that this education is needed. So, and what we have been doing is for mostly young people. So, and I must say kudos to all the schools who have attended thus far. The last one we had was in St. Andrew, and we had St. Joseph Convent, Grenville attending, and Grenville Secondary School attending. And also open to some of our caregivers, open to also some of our stakeholders, right? And it helps prepare them. We may not get all the information there. So we would have a medical health expert there. We have Dr. Martin, who is partnering with us. And so he would come along and give a presentation on what do you eat, how do the different types of food and the impact it has on the body. We also have the finance and presentation also, because it is important realizing that is one of the challenges that we need. And if we can educate now, then it may help relieve the seed and help us expand our safety net more. And we also had the collaboration with mental health unit,
Yes.
or psychosocial unit, in doing the what you call mental health screening. And from what I saw, what I observed, it was well attended. And therefore, while it was not the early childhood directly, but it included children, in helping all of us basically understand, the impact of different things on the body, the impact of different things on elder life, or how it will affect us.
May I ask, in this case, we have some homes, government homes. Are you connected with these homes? Do you know what's happening there? Is that part of your responsibility? Like you have the Caliste home, I think it's, I'm not sure it's directly under government, but it...
Well, okay, so...
You have the return.
I will answer it like this. All homes fall under the supervision of Desk of the Elderly, where we would also do a yearly assessment of the homes. Currently we have 10 homes. We had 11, however, St. Teresa, that's Sisters of Charity, would have closed.
Missionaries of Charity,
for circumstances beyond their control and our control.
Okay.
But however, we do also have private homes, and they are subject to the guidelines also of the policy. And we are also trying to make it so that we have one unison as to what is supposed to happen. And also, when we do an assessment, we would look for, what is your infectious disease control? We look also at the accommodation for the elderly in the homes, because that is very important. The amount of bed to our rooms, make sure that the home is properly lighted.
So, I get a lot of collaborative work going on here.
Yes.
And it's you talk about projecting. For example, you have the early childhood division. And as a teacher, we always learn that you always project. Add 5 years down the road. What you want to see is not just this 3-year-old child in front of you. He or she will grow up and become, So it's like always having that projection, even when you do what you're doing. Okay? So we're going to take a short break at this time. And listeners and viewers, when we return, the phone lines are open. You can call 435-0143 if you wish to make a comment or to ask a question. This is your opportunity to do so. So 435-0143 is the number you can call to be part of this discussion or special here this Thursday evening. So we take a short break now. Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to this, what I would consider very informative and interesting program with the representatives from the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. As you note, there are various units represented here, and the person I'd like to repeat, that is Mrs. Kizie Matthew-Clarence. She's the head of the Psychosocial unit in that ministry, and next to her is Miss Nakitha Noel, and she is the social worker and coordinator for the early childhood unit, which spans the age of 0 to 3 years, and Mr. Ferguson, who is working with the desk of the elderly. But as I said, he's not confined to a desk. His work takes him into the various communities to have first-hand experience of what really is happening there. Because sometimes we sit at the desk and the information comes to us, but that experience shakes us up when we actually encounter what we have been hearing. Yes. Okay, so Kizie, we didn't speak about, I know a lot has gone on with mental health, and they had a big celebration, candlelight and so on. I don't know if you were in the same department for that with Mr. Josh.
Right, that's a different ministry.
That's a different ministry. Yes. Okay, all right. So you, for the 10th of October, there's a special theme. You know, everybody seemed to pick a theme because I guess the situation warrants that particular theme. So let's speak of the theme and how important that it is to this time.
For this year for Mental Health Day, the theme is access for services in times of catastrophes and emergencies. And the theme was chosen simply because we are in the era of climate change, and they've recognized that in times of disasters, emergencies, wars, and all of that, how all of what's happening can impact people's mental health. And they want to ensure that countries and nations are able to ensure that there are services available. So if you were to think of our very own self with Hurricane Beryl, and the need that was there in terms of providing the psychosocial and mental health support for persons who've lost everything and just the trauma of it all. And worldwide, you know what's happening in terms of disasters. Thankfully for this year, we have not had any major storms and hurricanes. But we know that in the era of climate change, a disaster can happen anytime. And we want to be able to highlight the importance of services during those times so that people can recover and they can return to some form of normalcy while walking through the traumatic events.
Thank you for that explanation on your theme. But I believe we have a caller online.
We do.
Good night and welcome to our special Thursday night program.
Hi, good evening.
Yes.
I just want to say congratulations to the team from the Ministry of Social Development on the good work that they are doing. We know that the human service social work environment is a very stressful, thankless job, but they continue to represent well, and I'd just like to commend them and encourage them to continue with the good work. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Someone recognizes, you know. And you know, that is the beauty of it, that even if you do not get thanks here, but you're gratified by the effect that your work is having, you know? And so it's like, it's not about you really, it's about, you know, the service that is extended. And Kisone said that in the beginning. So I am grateful to you too, you know, for the work you do, and for losing your life, as it were, so that others will find life, you know, because it's not easy for you as well, okay? So thank you for that theme that has, I think the whole climate experience warranted that theme. And so you were able to do any particular event or so that brought forth that, that theme?
So we started the celebration with a church service together, collaboratively.
Okay.
Because, of course, we recognize the importance of God in the midst of it, and not just for clients, but for ourselves, as you mentioned. When we give up ourselves, we are in the service of God. And that transpired later into our mental health symposium, which brought on persons from different ministries, not just mental health professionals, but a cadre of persons, nurses, doctors, police, ministry workers. And we were able to have a wonderful time just sharing on 3 very important topics: mental health in the workplace. And this year we introduced something pretty new: perimenopause and menopause. Perimenopause and menopause, and it was well received because at the unit we recognize the importance of educating persons on that phase of perimenopause.
Yeah.
So much times we hear about menopause when we're there, but we don't recognize that perimenopause is basically can be 7 to 10 years for a woman, and the symptoms that goes with it, and not just the physical symptoms, but the psychological changes and impact that it can have on women's health. So we brought in that, and then we ended with resilience, because we've recognized that even in the face of climate change, and just generally the importance of us as a people being resilient. How can we bounce back when we have challenges, that we not just give up, but we're able to work through the struggles.
Okay.
So those are some activities. In addition to, we've also partnering with Early Childhood Unit to provide some services to our caregivers, because we recognize that even as we serve, that our mental health too is important.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, for all of this. And you just grow up like learning trial and error, what they tell you, and not realizing sometimes it's just near to you, and someone just opens your eye to the fact, and it enters into your mind that nothing is really wrong with you, and it's a normal process that's taking place, but it's just that you don't talk about it.
Yes.
So inviting people to speak, to get the kind of help that is needed. Yes, we do have some comments here I should share with you. Sister Marian says, great program. She also says, but we diagnose people with mental health just because they are behaving in a certain way. But my question is, how important it is for us to be diagnosed by a professional. You may just see someone suspect, how important it is to be diagnosed by a professional.
And that's a very important question, because sometimes persons may self-diagnose, or as she said, diagnose others, and in effect, it may not be a clinical diagnosis. So it's important that you see a professional so that you can do proper assessments. There are clinical assessments that can determine.
So the clinical is the word that you're looking for here,
right?
Clinical.
There are proper assessment tools that can assess for things like depression or anxiety and all of whatever range of mental
Which is a sort of abnormal state, you mean? Because everybody suffers with some measure, you might say, of anxiety and some measure of depression. But if there's a pattern...
Yes, and when it comes to those disorders, there has to be specific symptoms, and there has to be of a particular duration. And one of the criteria we look at is whether it's affecting functioning, whether it's affecting functioning at work, at home, at school. So depression, for instance, is not just feeling sad, but it's a range of symptoms that has to be present over 14 days. Right? And with the 14 days, there has to be impact on family functioning and work functioning. So sometimes it's important that we're able to see a professional for a proper diagnosis. And even with the diagnosis, that we're not so much focused on the diagnosis to say, I am this or I'm that, because we are not a diagnosis, but providing the intervention to assist the person.
Okay. Then this is another question. I think we need to implement some simple steps that can be used in our schools on a daily basis. For example, the 3 C's of a cognitive behavior therapy. Not sure what this means. But anyway, some simple steps they're saying that can help the students. At secondary level or primary level.
So I agree. And Ministry of Education do have guidance counselors at all of the secondary schools and some primary schools to provide that support to our students. But yes, mental health for students is very important.
Yes. Now, you mentioned about my health, and the other one was my safety. We didn't look at that safety net there. What is in the mind of those organizers when they speak of safety? Is that the environment where the child is, or signs that suggest that there is something shaky here about the safety of the child?
All right. When we talk about safety, we're talking about a holistic approach. You're talking about the safety of the child in terms of the environment the child lives in. Physically, you want to make sure the child is safe physically. We're talking mentally, emotionally, even sexually, that the child is not being abused by the parents. One of the things that we do in the daycare, of course, we know we have to bathe the children, we have to do all of that and do our checks. And even if we see a child come in with a mark that was not there yesterday, it's our duty to investigate, to see what's going on and call the relevant authority, for example, Child Protection Authority, to reach out and say, you know what, this is something that we have seen, it was not there before. Maybe it needs a little bit more investigating.
In that case, why not the parents?
No, we have to be objective. We have to look at the agency that is responsible for children. Yeah, of course, we would have a conversation with the parents.
Of course,
but
I hope so.
Of course, we have to get the parents involved because we do not know.
Okay.
We are not the investigators.
Okay.
Our duty is to report as childcare providers. Yeah,
Okay.
so we want to ensure that our children are safe and all-rounded approach. Yes,
they are helped also to know when there are those danger signs,
yes,
that they can recognize it and what to do.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty young. They're talking about from 0 to 3 years. But of course, we can tell them, no, don't touch, where to touch. We have the song, we have to, don't touch here, all of that. So we teach them, of course, in the daycare centers to recognize those things. And only mommy and daddy should be touching you in those particular areas, or mommy should be bathing you, or nobody else shouldn't be bathing you or touching you in that kind of area. And if anybody touches you in that area, to reach out and tell mommy. Say something, don't stay quiet. So it's all about educating the children to speak up.
Yeah, we need to help the parents too, because a lot of things are not safe in many cases,
Yes.
So we have to ensure. And then you have the other one, our responsibility. Our responsibility, as you said, my health, my safety, then our responsibility.
Before we look at, it was a community to raise a child, and now everybody is by themselves. We have, the nuclear family, we don't have the extended family again. But we want to impress on other persons, to look out for other persons' children. It may be yours, you never know. So it's not just the parents, but of course the community, of course the churches. So it's our responsibility to really look after the children. Yeah, we probably raising the next prime minister. So we never know. So the onus is on us now to ensure that the children are safe and thriving and is healthy. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So Kisone, we talked about the elderly and some of their challenges. You spoke about the services that are available, that can be accessed, and the process by which they can access that. But today we said on the conversation with the bishop, Mrs. Muriel Mitchell, 103 today. So although we celebrate the centenarians, and the people who reach that age, I think it has something to say to the desk of the elderly in terms of why recognize what is behind this. It's not just a moment and then that falls through. But in this elderly represents experience. I mean, so much is vested there. Yeah, life, it's troubles, it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you make, I wouldn't say use, but how do you respond, to that gift of longevity and the benefits that it holds for society?
So I'm glad you asked that question. When we look at our centenarians, right, we do recognize them. So at the first 100, we would, once we are informed in time, at least 3 months in advance, we would then write to the Governor General, who will then write to the King, as it be, now. And that person will get, so for example, on Saturday, we'll be having one, Miss Hilal. in Mount Granby
Okay.
will be celebrating
100 years. Okay.
So the Governor General would visit, would also do a presentation. She would also get a presentation from the desk and family, and we would join with family and friends and celebrate that 100. Also, and then after each year, we would do what we call a gift basket and a visit. And sometimes we'll just sit with them and talk with them and we'll ask them, and it's very important, the majority of the answers that we get. How did you reach here? And one say, God. And then they would say, it's a lot of provision.
Stay local.
No fast food. And it also gives them the opportunity to relieve, to just relieve their life in talking about it.
Those who are able to mentally,
Yes.
most of them seem to have.
Yes. Most of them are very alert. Most of them.
We have quite a number.
Yeah, we have some. I have not looked at the updated list, but we have a few in Grenada. And even those who are not a lot, they would be either singing something. I visited one in August. And while the memory is going, she was able to record, oh, you so-and-so's son. And it tells you that there is still that level of alertness in them, and what do you want to do for your body? Oh, I just want to relax. I just want to relax here because I have reached that amount. And most of them will say, there is one lady who we go to and every year she will be, this is my last. And she has been saying that 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
And how old is she?
She's 103.
Yeah, 103 years.
103. And she's been saying that 3 years now. So it says a lot that it is a matter, most of them are content.
Oh, yeah.
They're happy. And that's why when you look at the theme this year for Month of Older Persons, it says older persons driving local and global action.
Driving local and global action.
I will get to it.
Okay.
I know. Our aspirations, our well-being, and our rights.
That's full.
And Tina, I want to ask you, what are your aspirations for the next 5 years? Because you see, the aspirations...
Why you ask me?
No, because it says a lot here. It says that aspirations, both in young and old, it shapes the future. It helps shapes the future because you have an aspiration. And you want to get something done. It also helps shapes community. Because while, and I know you said something during the break, it sometimes feel like they're packed up, but really and truly, they still have contributions to make to society.
And that's what I'm saying, is that the society has to recognize that God has left these people there as a great sign to us of God's faithfulness.
Yes.
And it's still bearing fruit even if they are old. Still full of sap.
So that's why it drives them. It drives us also to recognize them, and that is why it is important to recognize in our centenarians. And it says our well-being. How am I treated?
Yes.
Also, our rights must be recognized. These are people who still have rights, who still
have autonomy.
Right. So we almost run out of time. This program needed about 3-part series. But we wanted to let us know how to contact the desk of the elderly, because perhaps people may be wondering, what's the contact? How do we get? Yes. Okay.
So for example, I will give the ministry's number first, which is 440-2269. That's the Ministry of Social and Community
But you know how difficult that is.
Don't worry, I'm coming.
I think you should post it, Dwayne, if you can.
Then we also have at our office on St. John Street. I know most people are accustomed to Melville Street. But,
so you moved?
Yes, we have moved to St. John Street. And it was also publicized. 440 6037.
Okay.
or they can also go into any of our sub-offices. We have St. John's, we have St. Patrick's, we have St. Andrew's and St. David's.
Okay. All right. And the sign is up?
Yes.
Should be. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So we'll give you a chance to wrap. Here, three of you speaking with different special units. Okay? Head of the psychosocial, early childhood, and then we have the elderly. What a wonderful combination, of ministries. And it seems as though, from what I gather sitting here, there's a good collaboration among you all and with all the stakeholders, to work together, because you realize no man is an island, and that we have to be able to work together. I think that's a sign that goes out to our communities at this time. We cannot do this alone. We need each other. All right? So what would you like to leave with our listeners as we go from the various units?
I would just encourage all of us to take steps to look after our mental health, and to not just care for us, but to care for the people around us, or families, or community members. Be kind, that you can be a listening ear, that if you can offer some support, that you can be less judgmental, because sometimes people are going through a lot of struggles and we're so quick to judge. So I just encourage us to just be kind and just do our best to look out for ourselves and each other.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Clarence. And then we have Mrs. Nakitha, Noel. A wonderful experience with you. And I sense that you will be back.
Yes.
What would you like to leave with our listeners and viewers?
I just want to say that really and truly God has entrusted us with those young ones from 0 to 3 years, and it's very important as to how we deal with our young ones and take our responsibility very seriously. As the theme suggested, my health, my safety, our responsibility. Our child's health, our child's safety is everybody's responsibility. So I would encourage the general public to look out for each other and continue to do the great work that you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we have you, Mr. Ferguson. What would you like to say to our listeners and viewers as we wrap up this very informative, interesting program?
What I'd like to say to our listeners and viewers tonight is that, our elderly, they have done their service, and most time we may not understand them when they get to that age. Take time, observe. And if you need any assistance, you reach out to the desk of the elderly. Because after all, sometimes we may jump to conclusions and it is not what we think, but it is what they're actually going through at that stage in their lives. I would also like to say to our colleagues at the ministry, thank you for walking along hand in hand with us. I know sometimes it's not easy, but the support that each one gives to each other and each unit gives to each other unit, I think it is very, very commendable. So I thank you all, and
like you almost wrap up for me.
yes,
So you're still wrapping up.
So let me thank you on behalf of Good News Catholic Communication on this wonderful Thursday night special with the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs, represented here this evening in the persons of Mr. Kisone Ferguson working on the desk of the elderly, Mrs. Nakitha Noel, who is a social worker or coordinator for the early childhood unit, and of course Mrs. Kizie Matthew-Clarence, head of the psychosocial unit. It's been a pleasure having you, and I look forward to having future programs with you because we collaborate to bring the information to our listeners and viewers. And although we are Catholic communications, we are open to what is good, what is healthy, what is for the benefit and the good of our listeners and viewers. So thank you very much for being here, and we wish you well
you.
in your ministry.
Thank you.
I said that the word is ministry, and perhaps we haven't thought very much. A ministry is something very special. You're working in a ministry, but you're actually doing a ministry.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for the hard work you do, and to continue to pray for its success as we see it manifested in the benefits granted to our nations, to our citizens of our nation, from the youngest to the oldest. I've been your host, Ruthina Victor. I thank you again, and have a good night.
Thank you.